Breathwork, and today we are having a conversation all about our breath. So thank you for being here, Erin. I'm really excited before we started recording, I was saying a lot of my friends locally, I've been bringing up that there's a whole, conversation just dedicated to breathing, and they're fascinated by this. So I'm really excited.
I'm so excited too.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so how is it that we can dedicate a 30-minute conversation to just breathing?
Oh boy.
How is that a thing?
It's just so rich. It's so rich, and it's so rich because just beginning with the breath work that I do is really working with emotional release, emotional detoxing. Any breath practice that you do is going to be working with those things. But one of the things we were talking about before we started the call was the idea of people coming in and saying like, oh, I forget to breathe. I don't know how to breathe. And we all know how to breathe. We all do it. Just our body automatically does that for us. We can breathe all night long without effort. It
Right.
just happens.
We do know how to breathe. This is okay. So yeah. We do know. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
we know. Our body knows how to do it. But what happens is that we a lot of people restrict their breathing and confine it to their upper chest and breathe really shallowly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's actually, your body's so wise and so intelligent. We do that because we're putting a cap on the emotions that we can feel. It's like a natural physiological response to feeling too much. If you stay up here, you're not going to feel the depth and the intensity of your emotions. And most people I know, I live in New York, but I think this is probably across the board, especially for all, the women that are on their grind, doing their thing, entrepreneurs, whatever, business owners, mothers, all the people. I feel like we're kind of all in a mild fight or flight, maybe not like hardcore, but we're all sort of in a mild adrenal rush. And so that can also keep your breath up here a little bit because there's a sense of like danger. A full-blown fight or flight, you would get, access to your lungs, but there's that like kind of feeling, that anxiety, rushing, not relaxed, not calm, a little bit overwhelmed feeling that often people experience during the day, whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so that can keep the breath really confined and really up here, because to actually stop and take a full breath and feel everything either feels too overwhelming or you don't have time.
Yeah.
So, but the breath is it's so rich in its ability to clean you out. And so, everything is contained in here. It's like, I don't know how much you want me to go right into it, but
Let's go into it. I think I was somebody that posted I was like, I think I need breathing lessons. I think that because it was one of those weeks where it was just that, a lot of anxiety, and I just could every once in a while catching myself being like, oh my God, I haven't been breathing. And it's just like, and just like take a minute, catch my breath, and then go back to what I was doing. But that didn't feel like a sustainable practice to just be like, oh, I can tell I haven't been breathing, check myself, start breathing. And it's like, well, I want something a little richer than that. I want to be able to maybe slow down or find my breath a bit more easily. But so no, let's go into it. Why, when we start breathing deeper, what happens?
So the breath practice that I do, and because I'm in teacher training to start to teach the first level of this breath work, I've been doing breath work every day, and it's incredible. Like I did Zen Buddhist seated meditation for years, and it was always a struggle. Like it was never anything that I looked forward to. I wasn't like, I get to meditate today. It was more like, okay, I'm gonna meditate, doing something good,
right?
I'm clearing my mind, I'm getting grounded, but I never enjoyed it. And this breath practice, when I do this every day, it's just like clearing the layers. Because what it does, when you breathe through your nose, you keep your you keep your brain centered focus, your intellect's very on. And when you breathe deep down into your belly, you bypass your brain. So all of that, like, not to bash seated meditation, but that, like, third eye focus, or keeping it up here, keeping a mental focus, a mental stillness. This takes you just all the way out. So you go into the body. So you're breathing through your mouth, taking that first breath down into your emotional center, into your low belly, where we've got all the second chakra stuff. It's like your sexuality, your connection to being a mother, what you're birthing out into the world, your creativity, all your relationships, with your friends, your parents, your lovers, past lovers. And then you've got like the skeletons in the closet stuff too. You have like shame, you have guilt, you have trauma, abuse, sexual assault, like humiliation. You have everything that's like you wanted to throw in the closet and slam the door shut and compartmentalize and like never look at again. It's all hanging out there. And I mean, side note, I think that's, one of the reasons a lot of women today have a lot of like low belly fat too. I think that we're really containing and shielding and guarding,
Absolutely.
So the first breath goes in there. And so that really stirs the pot in all of those areas of your life. And it's almost like, I think of, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but I haven't made lasagna for a million years. But like when you bake something and then you have to like chip the stuff off after you make it, like that. Like there's sludge and it needs to be like Brillo padded,
Yeah,
so
totally.
The breath, it kind of goes in as like a scrubber brush, and it's like, okay, let's like chisel off a little, whatever your body feels safe and comfortable with letting go of today.
So kind of like an exfoliation, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emotional exfoliation.
I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the second breath, and this is, again, it's open mouth. So it's taking it, like getting it away from the brain and just like pulling it deeply into the body. And then the second breath goes into the heart. So you're getting over the organs of the heart and the lungs, which connect with grief and inspiration, and then also, heartache and joy. So it's opening the heart and kind of bringing that first breath up so that you can wash all of those emotions and all of those challenging, painful experiences with love. It's kind of like your heart can be breaking while it's healing. And then you exhale out of the mouth to release it. And so when we do this, when I do it one-on-one with people, or when we do it in a group, everyone's laying down, and it is just like the quickest way to go into the body. And you're able, because you're like giving your brain an activity, you're giving your brain a job, so it doesn't have to, it can get out of strategy and problem solving. And people find astounding clarity when they go into their body, because I used to, I've been practicing yoga for like 15 years, and I would always hear that thing like, all the answers are inside you.
Right.
And I was like, what
Right.
Like, where?
Yeah.
Where are they? I was like, I call bullshit on you,
I love that.
And then when I started doing breathwork, I was like, oh my God, they totally are. They're just not here. And this just like, the intuition and the wisdom of your body that you can find when you like dig into your emotional centers, it's just like problems get fixed and dots connect, and you get great ideas and like epiphanies and clarity, and all these things start to kind of like synchronize and make sense that didn't before, when you were like obsessing about it, going over it in your head. So it's wild. It's wild stuff. And it's, there's so many different types of breath work. You can do, Kapalabhati breathing and Nadi Shodhana breathing and all kinds of yogic breath. But this one is more specific to like emotional exfoliation.
I love emotional exfoliation. Okay, so this is a really basic question, but sometimes I get a little, so I have just this amazing husband, and he's like my person who comes in. He can really help me calm down, and he always brings me back to my breath. And he's never like, this is, yeah, he's amazing. So he will say things to me like, you know what, take a breath and like breathe down into like your root chakra. So he'll say something like that. And my busy brain is like, what do you like? Okay, so is it really just as easy as focusing that intention on like traveling down to the root chakra, right? Like that's all that you're talking about when you're like breathe down into your stomach or breathe into your heart. It's really about just your consciousness traveling down like to that place, freshening it up with a fresh breath of air and releasing it, right? It is that simple.
It's that simple.
Okay.
And it's also by taking it, again, when you're feeling anxious, right? When we're anxious, we're thinking about the future, we're strategizing, we're problem solving, we're anticipating. But when you go down, you're grounding yourself. You're pulling yourself back in your body. And I mean, the thing about grounding is that like we're so infrequently like all the way in our bodies. So if your husband is like, take it down to your root, he's like, bring yourself down and in so that you're here. And so that you can remember your like physical form, like, because when you get anxious, it's like your energy is all scattered and hovering around the periphery of your body. You're not even contained. Right. So I think the simplicity of just going, stop, focus, bring it down and in, you consolidate yourself.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I've been told that before. I'm going to close the window. It's getting a little noisy. Okay. Sorry. Pit stop. Just decided it's a little noisy in my neighborhood, so I'm closing the window. Because there have been times where, and it totally works, but I guess there's always just a little bit of my mind that speaks up like, is that it? Like, was that really, that was all we were supposed to do? We just like follow the breath down into that place, and okay, I guess that, because it really can be that easy, I guess. So
I guess I don't want to say it's that easy, because it's not, because I mean it is and it isn't.
That's how I feel about it, where I'm just like, well, okay, but it seems like there needs to be, for me personally, like that needs to be more of a practice. Like it takes me a little bit to actually get to that place where I can tell that it's working.
Yeah, and I think it's such a abrupt switch. Like if you think about that moment when your husband comes in and he's like, take a breath down to your root chakra, and you're like, oh geez, I'm like in the, there's like resistance.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like, come on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's annoying.
When
I'm like in a different process and he's having me switch over to this one, it's like, there's definitely some.
It's this. It's like going from high intensity work mode, I'm a machine, I'm doing this, I'm powerful, I'm getting shit done, don't bug me. Don't make me do this right now. And because it's very different. It's like going from fight or flight to rest and digest in like one breath. Like, there's something we also really enjoy to a degree about going hard.
Yeah, I know. Super true. Super true for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And to less and less degrees as you figure out like how exhausting and taxing it can be. But there's something about being like in the zone, even if it is like coupled with anxiety, that it can be really seductive, because you feel, sometimes you feel powerful. Sometimes it's kind of like a hamster wheel though, in a way. So I think like getting someone off the wheel to interrupt a cycle, it can be really irritating to have somebody go, relax. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm doing this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the ability to like, there's a lot of to be able to switch with grace and finesse, to know. I'm just thinking there's this acupuncture point that is right at the occiput. It's right at the back of the skull, and I can't remember the name of it, but the message to the body is to inhabit the quality of wind. So know
Oh,
to be able to be easy, breezy, sensual, soft, peaceful, and
yeah.
then to know when you need to whip yourself up into a hurricane, and to be able to switch very
Mm,
easily between the two.
I love that.
Yeah, so I think that there's something about being able to. I think when there's more of a practice of breathing, then when your husband comes in and says breathe down to your root chakra, you're like, okay, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's push
Yeah.
back.
What other benefits or kind of maybe breakthroughs have you had personally? Like, so you're going through this training right now and doing this practice every day. What kind of insights are you realizing about yourself?
I mean, it's kind of insane because I really feel like I wouldn't say I think completely different person is not really right, but the way that I feel about this practice is that, there's us, and then there's all the layers. There's like our soul essence, there's our magnificence, there's our internal priestess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like magnificent, graceful, sensual, powerful creature that is us, that inhabits our body. And then there's societal conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
parent conditioning, insecurity, fear, not feeling like enough, fatigue, grief, loss, trauma. And it just builds all these layers up
Yeah.
that shield the light, that make us feel like we're not allowed to be ourselves, or we can't do it, or we don't have enough energy, or it's too scary. And so what breathwork has really done for me is that it's like exfoliated the layers.
Yeah.
And it sounds like kind of a excuse me, it sounds like kind of sounds kind of big,
Oh,
when I say
yeah.
it out loud. But I was working with so much grief and so much rage, beginning from like a very young age. And when I found this practice the first time I ever did it, I was like, oh my God, I have a way to channel all this stuff now.
Mm.
And I get to do it in a group of other people where they're doing it too. And I feel supported, and I don't feel like I'm a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And I can scream my head off, and I can cry like I needed to when I was 4, 5, 14, 21.
Yeah.
32,
Mm-hmm.
I can get out all of that. I can all the feelings that I
Maybe
maybe
you were just pushing down for yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
self-medicating or
Yeah.
exercising or trying all these different things. I finally had a way to just like get them out of my body. And so as I've gotten
very powerful.
crazy, it's so
Very
powerful.
Yeah.
And as I've like gotten them out of my body, I'm able to be more of who I was intended to be. And as I've, it's funny, like, so I just started doing this work a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the anniversary of my first group circle that I ever did is at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first started doing this work, I was like, there's no way in hell I can teach by myself. I had so much. I was like, I'm too insecure. I'm too scared. I cannot possibly have all those eyes on me. Even the idea of receiving people looking at me, just me, was terrifying. And I was like, I can't do it. So I would co-teach with people, I'd be like, we do it together,
Oh, yeah. I've gone through my own version of that, yeah.
Yeah. And like now I'm like, bring it on, I love big groups. I'm like 50 people, like more.
Pack them in.
Yeah,
Sell
like
it
I
out.
can make jokes,
Yeah.
I can be funny, I can tell stories. And there's no, like, I used to hide in the bathroom during recess when I was a little girl because I couldn't deal with other people.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, give me a microphone. I'm good,
Wow.
And
Wow.
I never, it's like I don't recognize myself. I don't recognize my level of confidence. I started singing. I sang like in front of a group, my spiritual group. So
Wow.
they're warm, sweet people. But there are things that I'm beginning to do that if you had told me I was doing them a couple years ago, I would have been
Doesn't even
like,
register. Yeah.
no way, no way,
Wow.
And so, that's part of what it's done for me.
That's really powerful. That is really big. That's
It's so
huge.
big. It's so big. And I see that for everybody else, all the people that are in, this, the breathwork community that I'm in. It's a very sweet, uh, I'm going to say mildly culty.
That's okay. We all have our like mildly culty
Yeah.
groups that we
Yeah.
really love. That's fine. Yeah. As long as
Totally.
you're aware it's mildly culty, it makes it totally
Yeah.
normal. Yeah.
But so good. It's like the most loving, supportive group I've ever been involved in. And my teacher is like so not a guru. There's no spiritual hierarchy. There's so much encouragement and generosity. So I've seen it. I've seen it with all the other people that I've moved through this with too, that we just get bigger and brighter and people get more confidence and, then they can like make the movie that they've always wanted to, or they start painting, or they, decide to have a baby, or they, reunite with their parents, and all these like wonderful things happen because it's really, in the end, it's a giant heart opening.
Yeah.
The whole crest of the work is that you let go of your brain, go into your body, clean yourself out, and on the other side of that, there's this like warmth and compassion and just like sweetness and kindness and connection to humanity that's really unparalleled to anything I've ever felt, except for like with ecstasy or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's a wild ride, and sticking with it has just yielded so many wonderful things for me. So it's
Wow.
like it's where my heart is right now.
That's so beautiful. And before we were recording, something that I said was, I think that this is such a huge first step, connecting with our breath. That's like foundational. All of these videos that we're recording are amazing, but like this conversation, this foundation of being able to find your breath and go within, is so big. And it's why I think people know that inherently, that if they take a minute and breathe, even if they don't know why, they know that it helps, and they know that they do feel more connected and more compassionate and more empathetic. And it's just, that is such huge work to open up your heart is everything. That's everything. That's what just like, if that is the only thing that we could all focus on, everything would be great. In my opinion, if we could all just focus on that heart opening and feeling more connected than disconnected with one another, that's it. That's like the ultimate. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really powerful, Erin. So could you give us just a quick, so as we go through our day, is there just like a little, could you just lead us through like, how do we catch our breath? Is that an okay question?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the best way, just super simple, is to put both of your feet on the ground and put one hand on your stomach.
Yeah. Okay.
So just doing that, because when you put your feet on the earth, and when you just like you were saying with when you take a breath, when you connect, when you get back in your body, you're connected to your humanity. And you're also connected to, we have a hard time being in these bodies because we have complicated relationships with them.
Yeah.
They don't always look the way that we want them to. They don't always feel the way that we want them to. And so we really resist being in them completely. But if you put your feet on the earth, whatever earth that is, dirt, carpet, floor, and you put your hand, I think probably preferably your left hand on your low belly. I don't know the science behind this, but I read somewhere, or somebody told me, that you can't lie to yourself when you have your hand on your emotional center.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, even if wherever you were, in your office, in your cubicle, on the subway, on the train, in your car, if you put your feet down on the ground and put your left hand on your belly and close your eyes and focus on your breath for, 5 seconds, take three deep breaths in and out, you're going to remind yourself that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to remind yourself that you feel. And you're going to remind yourself, you're going to take yourself back to the present moment.
Yeah. Wow. I love I can listen to you talk about breathing all day. Yes. Yes. That's good. And so when you have your hand on your emotional center, you can't lie to yourself. That, like, I got full body chills when you said that, because I especially, so me in my working environment, it's very much just me. Like, there's, and I think a lot of us are like that, where we're kind of doing our work and we're in this, solitary place a lot of the day. And there can be times where I just question myself. That's what I'm going to start doing now, when I'm like, is this true? Is what I'm saying true? Because I do find myself I ask myself that a lot, like, well, is that true? And then, so that's going to be my personal practice when I need to check in with myself now. Yeah.
So interesting working as a solitary person. I love that you even ask yourself that question.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like I have to, because you can just get so, especially when you're working with a priestess archetype, or being a spiritual lighthouse, not even a teacher, but just somebody that people can go to ask questions or whatever. There's a lot of that where I feel like I need to check in and say, well, is that true? And that can apply to so many things. When people disagree with me, they might have a really valid point, and usually there is like something there that I need to look at, and it's gratitude, like, thank you. And so, that question, is this true? It's really important, I think, as our perspective can be so small.
Rare.
Yeah, it just is compared to everyone's experience. Our perspective can be really small. So that I do find myself asking myself that a lot. And you just gave me one more tool where it's like, okay, now that's going to be I can feel how that's true. That is true.
And I feel like we're rapidly evolving. Like, all of us are rapidly evolving.
Oh yeah.
It's just so fast, and it's so constant that, even something, like I reposted something on Instagram last night that I wrote in May, and I was like, oh my God, I need to kind of revise that, because I've learned more and I know different things now. I'm like, that was true in May. It's not true now. It's different now.
Oh yeah.
So you can get sort of carried away with your copy and like spiritual language and how you present yourself, and like, you have to really stop and go, is it true still?
Yeah. Is it true still? It's really important. And and I know that I will, like, there are things I do try to stay aware of, that it's okay for those things to be edited. It's totally fine, even and
they should be,
and necessary in some points
to reflect current reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been so great. I feel like this was when we're recording, it's my first recording of the day, and it's like I'm so happy you scheduled this first thing for me personally, because I'm like, this is what a wonderful way to get started today. So thank you so much. This was really, really wonderful. How can everyone get in touch with you if they want to work with you, if they have more questions, and just let us know everywhere that you're available right now?
Okay. Well, my website is the best place, so erintelford.com. You can book sessions there, and I do breathwork via Skype. So if you're not in New York, I can work with you anywhere in the world. It's not distance healing. It's really breathwork as a self-healing practice. So I'm there as a guide and a space holder. So it's very powerful to do it via these amazing electronic things we have access to. I'm also on Instagram, which is one of my favorite places to connect. So it's Erin Telford __. I'm on Facebook, but whatever.
Yeah.
Instagram and my website are my favorite ways to
It's so
connect.
funny.
So,
Everybody says the exact same thing. They're like, and I guess Facebook. I guess I'm kind of
it's
there
just
too.
not that interesting of a medium to me anymore, you know?
It's really
So,
noisy. It's a really noisy one. Just
yeah,
for
very
me
noisy.
personally,
Yeah.
I'm just like, ugh. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Erin. It's
Thank you
such
so
an
much.
important conversation. So, thank you for taking the time to have it. I really appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. I'm so grateful. What a good way to start my morning, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.